I don't agree with anything, Charlie, just about anything that comes out of Charlie Kirk's mouth, especially politically. I don't. He's, been bigoted, racist, all of those things, right? Sexist.
Mhm. Yep.
Violence is not the answer. And I see some people, on social media saying, "Oh, thoughts and prayers are being snarky." I don't do that.
No,
It's
I agree.
stay classy. Um, but perhaps this incident will help somehow with some sensible gun legislation. Charlie Kirk has spoken out for, basically sort of an open everything Second Amendment, right? I think he was quoted once saying, I want to be right, saying it was a God-given right or something
Hmm.
equivalent to that. Um, so maybe this will make some difference.
Yeah.
I don't know. He said, this was in 2023. Charlie Kirk in 2023 said, "You will never live in a society where you have an armed citizenry and you won't have a single gun death," Kirk said at a Turning Point USA faith event on Wednesday, as reported by Media Matters for America. "That is nonsense. It's drivel, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. This is a prudent deal. It is rational. Nobody talks like this. They live in a complete alternate universe." So he's saying to protect other God-given rights.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be different. But I mean, this is crazy. And people have seen the video, Brian.
It's bad.
Uh, and I That's not, it's not, you don't get a good, that's not going to be good. It's not going to be
Don,
good.
Don, here's what I saw, and I'm sure you saw the same video. It looks like he is shot right in the lower neck area. And what I'm concerned, by the way, I agree with everything you just said. I don't
They
like.
they said it was a jugular. Again, that's unconfirmed, but if
Well,
it
there was blood
is,
gushing out of his neck, Don. So what I'm worried about is, first of all, if you can't get oxygen to the brain within 120 seconds, you might be gone. So how fast did he get medical attention? The loss of blood. I mean, it just. So I agree with everything you just said. I'm in shock, just like you are. I don't like Charlie Kirk, the person, but he has a family. He's a father. He's a husband. And for these people on social media that say, "I don't care," or, who gives an F, they're all wrong. Okay. It doesn't matter whether there's an assassination attempt on Donald Trump, whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. And here's what I'm worried about, Don: retribution. I agree with what you said about gun control. I hope something can happen here, but I'm worried also about retribution.
yeah, it's, how do you think I feel? I'm out there and very recognizable face wherever I go.
Yep.
And I'm out on the streets and I do the in real life man on the street interviews. And I had a confrontation with a man the other day who was
I
drunk.
saw that. Yep.
And I usually try to keep it classy, right? I may get a few barbs in, but I'm not gonna just insult you or be violent or be rude to you. But I think you're right to worry about retribution because there are a lot of MAGA right wing folks who, do I want to say this, who may be out to get some sort of revenge. And I hope that doesn't happen. But the world we live in right now.
Well, you had to deal with that, Don, at CNN. You had to deal with death threats at CNN, and that was very difficult for you to have to deal with. I'm in shock right now, and I think there's a lot of questions that need to be answered. But obviously, we hope Charlie Kirk gets through this okay. It doesn't look good. But what do you think? You're someone who's been covering, news for so long, and you're so good at what you do. When you cover a breaking news story like this, there's only so much we could say, right? We know he was shot once in the neck. We know where it was at. We know it happened. We don't know his condition. I mean, what else can we say right now? You're a professional. You've been doing this forever. Have you had to ever cover anything like 9/11, for example? You've covered some pretty crazy things live on the air. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, look, anytime someone gets shot, of course, and I've covered assassination attempts. I can't think of specifically right now because this is so shocking. I was in Ukraine during the war. There was a strike near me in Lviv. They struck and you can go look at the video. They struck a fuel facility right near, not far from where our hotel was. I, worked in the foreign bureaus. I'm not a war correspondent, so to speak, but I've covered some pretty horrific things. I've seen people when I was in local news. I've seen people get shot.
Mm.
Right after I did my live shot once in Philly, I saw someone get shot, and we
Oh
just
my gosh.
hightailed it out of there. But yeah, I've reported some horrific things, but this is terrible. And
Horrible.
look, and you know what's going to happen on the right. They're going to say, they're going to blame all Democrats, all liberals, and that the liberals are violent and whatever. We don't even know who it is. They're saying it's an older man, an older
I
white
saw
man.
images of him, older, bald, white guy. He was on his knees, and it appeared as though he was an older man in his 70s. So,
Right.
but yeah, that's what I'm worried about as well. I'm worried about retribution, how the media is going to be covering this. I wanted you to come on this show today, besides to talk about your great news coverage and what you did in Washington, D.C., but about the politicalization of the murder that took place on this train, where it's horrible. This innocent young woman loses her life, gets stabbed, and everybody on the right is blaming liberal judges and Democrats when we know that this guy didn't get the help that he needed. And he went to jail and he was found guilty of some serious crimes. But I'm thinking, one crazy schizophrenic, and they're blaming the left for it. And it's like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's the attitude, Brian, that gets you what happened today. There is a comprehensive approach to crime, to criminality, to people having access to guns who shouldn't. There's a comprehensive way of doing it. And it's not just, getting rid of all the guns, or no one wants to take everyone's guns, but we have to deal with mental health issues. We have to understand that I learned today, and I can't believe I didn't know this. That there was a program that would have stopped the shooter in Minnesota because he had written something, posted about it, allegedly posted about wanting to do what he did, and it was the Republicans got rid of that program. And so, this whole idea about the only way that we can, fight crime is to have more police, to beat up on people, to violate people's rights, or to not have mental health experts work along with police. I just think it's ridiculous. And, the Second Amendment in this country, it's not sacrosanct. Every amendment in our Constitution pretty much has limits, right? Even the First Amendment can't, you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, that whole approach. The Second Amendment has restrictions in this country. And, it's an old cliche, or yeah, it's an old cliche. I would say when people say, when the founding fathers came up with the Second Amendment, it was fucking pea shooters. Excuse me.
It's okay.
Sorry, my language. It
It's
was
okay.
pea shooters and muskets, right? And cannons. They didn't think that there would be, high capacity weapons that could kill, a multitude of people in just seconds.
Mhm.
Nobody was thinking about that at that point. So,
Yeah.
it's money, it's the NRA, it's people who they just want to blame people. They want to blame bad Democrats, bad black people, bad immigrants. The story.
Yeah. Don, I want to ask you this because we have a little bit more information. We are learning that allegedly, there were no security checkpoints at this event. It was held outside. That's problematic. Number two, we're learning that the shooter was about 200 yards away in some sort of building. So he wasn't even literally at the event per se outside, but he was in some sort of building, it kind of reminds me of the John F. Kennedy assassination a little bit from
Hmm.
that regard, 200 yards
Hmm.
away in a building. What is your reaction to that?
Well, in Minnesota, remember the guy shot through the window. And
Yep.
so my reaction is just that we're not safe. I feel like we're not safe anywhere. And I feel like we're not addressing, not to just keep going back to what we talked about before. We're just not addressing the root causes of crime and why people do this. We're not addressing the hate that people stir up in this country, and how that can affect people. And that can affect it, especially if you have mental health challenges. Um, People can be pushed into doing drastic things when they're not thinking straight.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've never met a crazy person. I hate to use that term, crazy. I've never met a person who had a mental health issue that admitted that they did. Everyone thinks that they don't.
Yeah.
And so we need to start addressing that in order to take care
Yeah.
of this problem, because um, people are going to have access to guns. And I think we have to stop being so divided about politics. And I'm saying that to the Trump folks and the MAGA people, because I don't know if this is a left wing person or whatever, but most of the political violence does not come from the left.
Mhm.
Now, I'm not saying that it does not happen, but most of the time it is someone who's been co-opted by some right-wing person or some conspiracy theorist or someone who doesn't believe in facts, some racist, some whatever. They've been co-opted by it, and they fall into this cult-like behavior and they start believing things that aren't true. So
Right.
I think if the right wants to address this, this is the time where they can do it. They should do it and do it properly, not just own the libs,
I agree. So, Don, you have fans all over the world, so many that appreciate what you do, and I would imagine a lot of them are not MAGA supporters. So, I want you to speak to, so many great people out there that are fans of yours, but there are some, hopefully a small percentage, even some on my own chat right now, that are saying they don't care. F Charlie Kirk, which I find to be utterly despicable right now.
Yeah.
Especially at this time. Listen, when Rush Limbaugh passed away, I said he was a cancer to society, but my thoughts are with his family. I said, listen, he was a bad man, but he died of an illness. But this is different. This is political violence. Can you speak to those people? Because I would imagine even on your show today, there are going to be some of your fans that'll probably disagree with you. What is your message to them?
It's simple. Keep it classy. And I always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. That's so. There are people and a lot of folks in this country who don't agree with my political point of view. There are folks who don't like me. There are folks who get an idea of who Don Lemon is through Fox News or the right-wing media, right? And when they finally meet me, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute, you're not the guy that I see on Fox News." But what I say to them is, you wouldn't want it to happen to you. So I know this is a tough thing to think about, but think about Charlie Kirk being a member of your family
Hmm.
or someone you like politically, someone you agree with politically. How would you feel if they were shot? Now, again, Charlie Kirk's political beliefs, leanings, his bigotry, his racism, his homophobia, his sexism, all of those things, disgusting. I don't agree with it at all. But I do not agree with violence. It is never, ever, ever, never the answer.
Don, really well said. I know you're a busy guy. Obviously, hopefully next time we could speak under different circumstances. I didn't expect I'd be talking to you today about this. But yeah, it's just horrible.
Well, I'm actually glad that I got to share this time with you because you're the first person that I've spoken to in the media about this, and I'm about to go on live now on my YouTube channel and do
Yep.
it. So tune into the Don Lemon Show. We're going to be talking
please
about
do.
this.
Don, I listen to you every morning as I'm going into work, man, and I appreciate our friendship. And thank you so much for coming on what turned out to be a crazy, busy news day. And I worry about people like you out there, Ron. Some of my friends out there that are far more popular than I am. So please stay safe, okay, my friend.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Brian. I'll see you soon. You be safe as well because they have it in for you as well, buddy.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
Don, I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much
See
for coming
you later.
on.
Thank you. Thank you.
Don Lemon, everybody. Happy and lucky to call him a friend. He's a good man, and he's a man of empathy. And I knew he would say pretty much echoing exactly what I have said. Your reaction to who this shooter is, not a Democrat, not a lefty lunatic, as Donald Trump would say, and all the people on the right have been saying for the last several days. It appears to me 22-year-old straight white male, not transgender, came from a Mormon conservative family. Your reaction to that?
I mean, like, I'm always interested where the shooters come from because I think it's important to track the ideology and everything online. That being said, I think it's important to keep in mind that for the right-leaning people, the fact of the matter is never relevant, right? Initially, this was a trans activist shooter who was drawing, I guess, pink and blue trans arrows all over his bullets. And now it's shifted to where maybe he was Antifa, who knows? For the people on the right, it doesn't matter because no matter what, they're never going to tell their side to tone it down anyway. But I think that I feel like I'm talking to screaming to the abyss at this point. Like, the radicalization of everybody in online spaces and real life spaces is just getting ratcheted up more and more and more. And Trump is just pushing it further and further and further. And unless the Republicans are willing to actually say something about how everybody needs to calm down, it's just going to get worse and worse.
So do you agree with me, Destiny, that, listen, obviously this is a tragedy and we feel for Charlie Kirk's family and everybody that was there, obviously very traumatic. But with that being said, I would imagine you probably agree with me. Charlie Kirk was not a good guy. And I'm not saying he deserved this, and nobody should be celebrating this. But at the same time, giving this guy a medal, which it appears Donald Trump is going to do, he promoted hate, racism, misogyny, sexism, you name it. And he made money off of that, and he profited off of it. I'm not celebrating the life of Charlie Kirk.
So the United States is an interesting experiment because we have a democracy where we have people who are supposed to be able to coexist, even though we might have some pretty big disagreements amongst each other. I would agree that Charlie Kirk was not a great guy, but there are things that I feel like we should focus on more than being racist or hateful. As much as it might disgust me personally, I think that, being racist or being bigoted, I think these are bad things, but I don't know if they're fundamentally incompatible with the society that we have. People can have kind of abhorrent views sometimes about other people and you can still coexist. I think the thing that needs to be focused on more, and it's not as sexy to talk about, but it's this constant undermining of the functionality of our democracy. The horrible things that I would say Charlie Kirk and the Republicans do, or did and are doing now, is the undermining of our system of justice. I was right before this listening to Trump talk about how he likes that China has speedy trials and the insane weaponization of the DOJ against so many different political opponents in this country. Like, this is the type of stuff that is not compatible with a liberal democracy. It's not just a free speech issue. These are people who are actively trying to subvert the things that make this country function. And I think that's the really horrible stuff that should be focused on. Not to say that I give him a pass on any of the other stuff, but
And Destiny, not to say that this is tops of the list here, but I do find it interesting and sad that, the flags are put at half mast, after Charlie Kirk is murdered, but yet after a school shooting in Minneapolis, for example, last week, when several children lose their lives, they don't go to that extent, and MAGA Republicans don't really want to talk about it. They want to say thoughts and prayers, but I see all these MAGA Republicans on television and on the radio and all that other stuff that are literally crying on the air. But yet when it comes to children getting shot and killed, thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the assassination of the Minnesota lawmaker and then the shooting of the other one, I think that was insane. And to see Trump go so far that, he apparently is even flying his face at half mast right now in honor of Charlie Kirk's death. I think it's just absolutely insane, the different standards that both sides, or that they play against both sides here, depending on who gets killed.
Yeah, I just don't seem to understand it. But I have been saying all week that the right, all they keep doing is blaming the left for this Charlie Kirk assassination. Donald Trump, it's the radical left, right? Well, and I'm happy to announce that the shooter is in custody, the real shooter. Don't listen to what Kash Patel has to say, because we know he's screwed up 1,000 times in the last week. The guy's name is Tyler Robinson. He's not black. He's not transgender. He's not an undocumented immigrant. And he's not a registered Democrat. He comes from a Mormon family. He's a straight 22-year-old white male from a Mormon family that was obsessed with their guns. Now, even though on his voting record, it shows that he was not affiliated with either party, he comes from a staunch conservative Mormon family. Again, that was obsessed with guns. Not a trans person, not a gay person, not a black person or a minority. But yet Republicans are still blaming the left. Obviously, this is a deranged individual who did dress up Halloween in a Donald Trump costume. Take that for what you will. And there is no indication that he was a radical leftist. So all of you MAGA Republicans out there can go to hell. With that being said, I wanted to get that off my chest to start the show. My good friend joining me on the show right now, very popular left-leaning podcaster. I know he's probably just as angry as I am. He is Ryan Shedd. Ryan, thanks so much for joining us, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, brother. That response made me feel good. I feel your anger, as I feel we should all be right now, because we have Nancy Mace on Twitter literally right now praying for this guy. Like you said, these MAGA folks, they have no shame, they have no low. Nancy Mace said, "We know Charlie Kirk would want us to pray for such an evil and lost individual like Tyler Robinson to find Jesus Christ. We will try to do the same."
By the way,
right off of her page.
She said the other day, the day of the shooting, that the person who is responsible for this should get the death penalty. And now all of a sudden she finds out it's not a transgender, that it's a 22-year-old straight white male. Now we should pray for him. No, guess what? I'm not praying for him. I'm not praying for Charlie Kirk. I feel the same about his family and friends.